Okay, Unit 5, Lecture 2C. I just threw up a picture of Richmond after the Civil War so we could see some of the devastation, what the South looks like. That's something you may see on the SOL. Okay, remember the South fought a defensive war, so many of the battles are fought here, and we're going to see a great deal of devastation. The farms, the cities, the factories, all destroyed by the Civil War, and it's going to keep the South economically stagnant, economically backwards. They're going to maintain an agricultural-based economy afterwards and remain one of the poorest sections of the country for years after the Civil War. All right. Whereas the North and the Midwest are going to have growing industrial economies that lay the foundation for the massive amount of industrialization that's going to occur after the Civil War, right? The stuff that's going to turn us into the economic powerhouse that we are, the global economic power, by the beginning of the 20th century, all right? We're also going to see at this time the completion of the first transcontinental railroad connecting the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. They'll meet at Promontory Point in Utah. This is another famous picture you're going to see probably on the SOL. All right, this connection is going to drive and spur and ease a massive migration of people from east to west. We're going to see the area between the Mississippi River and the Pacific Ocean begin to fill up with people. All right. Also, at this time, we want to talk about the contributions of, or post-war contributions of some of the important leaders of the Civil War. We have Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant, both urging reconciliation between North and South and understanding a coming together. Quick healing is what they want, similar to Lincoln. All right, Grant will be elected president in 1868. He'll be president for most of Reconstruction. He'll advocate the rights for freedmen, oppose retribution, all right, and try and protect, again, the civil rights of the freed African American. Robert E. Lee will urge reconciliation also. He'll be the president of Washington University, which is now Washington Lee, down in Lexington, and he's going to advocate and push for the importance of education in our nation's future, and the importance of it for maintenance of our freedom. Okay, Frederick Douglass, another guy we have to remember after the Civil War. He's going to become the leading spokesman for the African American. He's going to support full equality for the African American and advocate and campaign for passage of both the 14th and 15th Amendments, which we've discussed. The 14th Amendment has the Equal Protection Clause, it defines citizenship, and the 15th Amendment will grant voting rights to the African American male. Okay. He also encourages the federal government to take actions in the South to protect the rights of freedmen, the civil rights that were granted after the Civil War. He'll later on serve as an ambassador to Haiti, I believe, and hold some other civil service jobs. Reconstruction will last until 1877, so it's about 12 years, and it's going to end because of the a very close presidential election in 1876. I want you to take a look at the map, and when I ask you what ends Reconstruction, you're going to say the compromise of 1877. The Republicans didn't have enough electoral votes to win the presidency. They wanted to keep the presidency, so they work a deal with the Southern Democrats. And the Republicans agreed to end the military occupation of the South, military reconstruction, in order for them to maintain the presidency, to keep the presidency. So the Southern Democrats throw the Republicans their support, and the Republicans pull the troops out of the South. Without the troops there to protect the rights of African Americans and enforce the legislation that was passed during Reconstruction, Reconstruction comes to an end, and this will bring in, so that the Compromise of 1877 allows for the beginning, opens the door to the Jim Crow era. This is the period in which Southern states required racial segregation. Segregation is separation of the races, blacks and whites, in public schools, in transportation, and in other public facilities. During the era of Jim Crow, African Americans in the South lost almost all of the political gains they had made during Reconstruction, including the right to vote and sit on juries. In short, Reconstruction's end marked the beginning of a long period in which African Americans in the South were denied the full rights of citizenship. So although slavery had been ended, when we get to the Compromise of 1877, African Americans have lost any semblance of full equality, and they'll be struggling for that for 100 more years. Okay, that ends Unit 5 lectures.